What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome back. It's your boy Hebot coming back at you with another video. And let's talk about real quick about Tango gameworks being sold to Crafton publisher by Microsoft and Zenimax. Now, I don't understand why all the doom and gloom if there is a very not only logical reason, but a good reason and why this actual, procedure was done and why this became an outcome that I think was a strategically smart thing to do and a healthy thing to do for the industry, right? Everybody has to understand that Microsoft is invested heavily right now in big acquisitions with big publishers, which they're still dealing with some of these court situations, thanks to Neela Khan here in the States, trying to make her name for herself, like I've said before, being a pain in the rear end, talking about monopolization, right? Even though there's other companies that are still here in the States that do things like Sony with Funimation and with Crunchyroll, that they bought all the outlets that provide anime and they actually unified it into one, and nothing was said about monopolization. Granted, it has nothing to do really with games, but in the end, it still has to do with something with entertainment that Sony owns, and it was monopolized because there's no other outlets that have to do with anime that is out there, right? Sony owns them both, right? So the hypocrisy is always real, right? Tango Gameworks, their very own leader in Shinji Mikami, right, left. And he lied when he left. He said he was leaving because he was tired and he wanted to take a break, and because he's been doing this for 20 plus years in the industry, and it was time for him to walk away, right? After he got paid with the Zenimax deal by Microsoft, because they were owned by Zenimax, right? Now, I don't know if these was internal problems way before Microsoft acquired Zenimax, which is a very big possibility, and they weren't in a happy place, right? But nonetheless, they were doing projects, already, like Hi-Fi Rush. And so he felt, I guess he saw it as an opportunity to step away, which he did. And when he left, he really put a lot of discouragement on the team that stayed, or the employers that stayed, because he built that. He created that studio himself. And then shortly after, about a month and a half later, he goes and says, well, I'm going to open up a new development house, right? And he even took over, I believe, some of the employers from Tango Gameworks into his new studio, which completely showed that he lied, right? And in the process of him doing that, what he did was he made Microsoft look bad, because he made him look like he didn't want to stay there because it wasn't a good enough workplace, or they weren't going to pay him enough, or whatever the case may be. And then everybody put the blame on Microsoft, even though the actual head and leader of Zenimax came out and said that they were the ones that decided to close down Zenimax and the developers of Redfall, right? Because the games didn't perform well enough. And to be honest, guys, you may not know, but I know, because I've been following Tango Gameworks for a long time. None of their games ever did well. The only one that did okay was Evil Within during the 360, right? Part 1. And that was because it was multi-platform. But when the second one came out, which was a great game also, even though I never got to finish it, it wasn't well received like the first one. right? A lot of people were hesitant because they were like, oh, it's just trying to be Resident Evil, right? When Shinji Mikami is an original creator of Resident Evil, kind of like what Callisto Protocol did with that they were the creators of Dead Space, and Callisto Protocol has a lot of things that borrow and feel aesthetically like Dead Space, but it makes sense because they wanted to do that game and EA said no and turned them down. They went on their own, and then they published and developed, Callisto Protocol, which is a fantastic, absolutely fantastic game. Surefire masterpiece in a lot of ways. That people didn't try it because they really didn't realize, oh, well, these are the developers of Dead Space, and yet trash the game. Although Sony did do marketing with it, and they had over 250 people working on the game, and they kind of shortcut the Xbox version, and Xbox fans got mad at that, right? Because the Xbox Series X is the better hardware and the more powerful hardware. Yet it was missing certain graphical fidelity things within the game, like reflections and certain types of lighting and certain types of textures and shadows. So the point is, Tango Gameworks have made great games, but they've never sold. They never made money. So financially, Microsoft has to also answer to, obviously, investors. And more than likely, because they had said that because Hi-Fi Rush was critically acclaimed, and don't get it wrong, Hi-Fi Rush did very well. In the Hi-Fi Rush on Game Pass did very well right from the jump when it released. It had over 2.4 million players. Now, how much of those players bought the game? I don't know. I know myself, I didn't want to buy it because I wanted a physical copy. But I end up buying the game, obviously, later on in a sale because I heard that Limited Run is going to make a physical copy, which I will intend to buy because I love the game. The game is fantastic, and it deserves to be preserved in physical format. So it still did very well, but what happened was, long term, with other games coming out, of course, like Atomic Heart, and shortly before that, the one with the guys with the guns from the creators, or I think of I want to say The Simpsons. No, I think South Park, the creator of South Park. They did that game with the guns that talk, which was awesome. I forget the name of it at the moment. Sorry about that. And other stuff that were coming out, frequently on Game Pass. It kind of dwindled and plateaued, right? And that was one of the reasons why Microsoft made the decision to bring over Hi-Fi Rush to the PlayStation 5 and 4 to see if it would garner enough sales as well there to help save them and protect them to more than likely be able to make a sequel for Hi-Fi Rush in the future. But as we all know, the game came out and the game wasn't even in the top 10 charts at all. It didn't do well. So they had no choice and said, well, we're going to shut them down and put some of their workers, same thing with the developers from Redfall, in other places within Xbox and Zenimax and other places like other studios. So they got a lot of backlash, Microsoft, from people that really were being hypocrites because they didn't like the game. If you didn't buy the game on PlayStation or on Xbox, how are you going to say that you love the game and that you want it to survive and that it's a crime that they didn't protect them? Because that's all bullshit. It's hypocrisy. And those people know who they are. You guys that are smart know who they are. So what happened? They went kind of quiet, didn't say anything. And little did we know that all this time, they were trying to work out a deal to continue to keep Tango Gameworks still together as a publisher, as a developer, and made the deal with Krafton to sell it to them. And Krafton said, yes, okay, we'll do it. Krafton has a good relationship with Microsoft and Xbox because they did the deal to bring PUBG from PC to console. And PUBG did phenomenally well. Now, Krafton, being that they're an independent developer, right, they are able to take a risk to continue to make Hi-Fi Rush 2 maybe and other IPs with Tango Gameworks, which Microsoft also did a smart move by keeping some of the IPs like The Evil Within, because I'm pretty sure one of their future endeavors that they would like to do is The Evil Within 3 with a big budget and the right funding and publishing and marketing to make it a success, right? So by them keeping that, if Krafton allows, because it was said it was an ongoing deal for the future, right? Does Tango Gameworks to still develop, Evil Within 2 or 3 rather for Xbox as an exclusive? They can do that because they own the IP, you see? Kind of like Sony did with Insomniac with Spider-Man before they bought and acquired Insomniac. Now, Hi-Fi Rush 2, since they let them keep the IP, it'll be multi-plat, and that's fine because at least the game will have an opportunity to still have a sequel. Now, the real question is, will the sequel do well? After all, everybody's been talking all this rhetoric, and you got to put your money where your mouth is, which more than likely, because it's multi-plat, now people will probably go buy it to try to act like, see, it should have been multi-plat from the very beginning. You see what I'm saying? Even though Tango was owned by Zenimax and Microsoft acquired Zenimax. That's why it was exclusive originally. Now, does it suck? Yes, because I think Tango Gameworks has phenomenal talent. I think Hi-Fi Rush is one of the best games released that is unique in the last 4 or 5 years. Absolutely. I can't say completely because we've had beautiful things like It Takes Two, No Way Out, No Straight Roads, Lost in Random. We've had a lot of fantastic, Harold Halibut, fantastic, unique games that haven't done well, like Ravenlock and the Adventures of Benedict Fox, right? But it is what it is. It comes with the territory. Nobody's really paying attention to the smaller titles. They're only paying attention to the bigger titles, and that's why these games don't do well enough. And that's what Phil was talking about in 2013 when Xbox One first launched. After the 360 generation, that single-player games just don't sell the way they should and they used to, right? And yes, there has been a few here and there that have done well for Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony. But again, out of 1,000 games that come out, maybe 10 do well in sales. So it's still a 1% ratio, right? Or 5%, which proves, yes, he was right. Single player games don't sell well anymore, right? And you saw even games like Horizon 1 to Horizon 2, right? Journey to the West, or whatever the hell it was called. The differences of sales was big, just like Spider-Man 2, just like God of War Ragnarok. It didn't do as well as God of War, right? PS4. But this bullshit rhetoric of saying that they were stupid, no, it's wrong. Because Microsoft saved them. And let's get it right. It was ZeniMax and Microsoft who saved Tango Gameworks by not closing them down, outsourcing and looking around for a publisher to buy them and acquire them so that they can continue to live on instead of full flat closing them down. That is what you do when you're a good business company and when you actually care about the gaming industry, right? We all saw that Ready at Dawn, the guys who did The Order, left on their own independently after the Order 1886, right? And went on to be acquired, I think it was by Amazon, to do nothing but VR games, and they just didn't do well. And now that developer that also had a lot of potential and did great PSP versions of God of War games, right, had to close down. And now they cease to exist. It took them a while, but they ceased to exist. And what did Sony do? they let them go, and they went and got acquired by Amazon. And nobody said anything at the time. They didn't say, oh, Sony's stupid. No, because all they said was, oh, the game wasn't that good. Okay, so Hi-Fi Rush was a better game than the Order 1886. But the point is, they still had a lot of potential because the Order 1886 was a great foundation for a franchise and the future of that developer because they have talent. That's the point. They had talent. And the game speaks for itself because the Order 1886 is not a bad game. It's a really good game. It's just, it's too short. It has too much cutscenes, QTEs, too many cinematic moments, and the action where you actually control is very, very small. I think it's like an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours of the game that you actually playing doing action scenes when you break it up in parts. And in each level, those very small areas, very small portions where you actually had action scenes. That was the only problem with that game because they were so focused on graphics and presentation that I guess they were concentrating more on that instead of focusing on making bigger set pieces and action pieces like big boss battles and things of that nature, which they did not. But it was a good foundation nonetheless. And it started a lot of story arcs that could have continued forward with future games. So again, Microsoft and Zenimax saved Tango. And what they did, it was very admirable. Now we'll be able to see a Hi-Fi Rush 2, like I said. Although it sucks that it won't be exclusive to Xbox, yes. But something like Evil Within 3 will be, because they still retained the IP. So for all those people saying, oh, this was stupid, they were dumb, and then they put the way they highlight, the actual titles on their videos about Crafton saves Hi-Fi Rush and their developer because Microsoft didn't care. Saying things like that, which was furthest from the truth because Microsoft still owned them. And if they didn't care and Zenimax didn't care, they would have just shut them down and spread out the development team in other areas, in other development departments, and would have closed down Tango Gameworks altogether. And they did not do that. Now, in the case of Redfall, they closed down altogether because the word was that the team at Redfall, they just didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to work together anymore. There was a lot of negativity and bad spiritual, like they were down and out. They really didn't want to continue doing games. And Redfall was a game that they didn't even want to finish. Microsoft pushed them in and tried to, enthusiasm them, give them the enthusiasm to finish it. Say, go ahead, go for it, try to finish it. They were trying to be positive. And for the most part, Redfall is a good, decent game. Better than people give it credit. It just might be the cup of tea for every single kind of player. Or not their type of game. That doesn't mean that it's a bad game. It is 4-player co-op. It was the first time they ventured in that style of game with co-op capabilities. So again, it was a totally different situation. They didn't want to exist anymore as a team because their spirits were really down, and they didn't have the ambition anymore, I guess, if that makes sense, right? But I still think that Redfall was a good effort on them to try to do at least something decent, because it's not terrible. It is a decent game, right? And for some, it was fantastic. Like our girl Dia always talks about it. She really enjoyed it. And so did, Tuck, and so did Others Inc., right? So if people enjoyed it, that means they did something right. Didn't have to be billions of people, but those who did, they enjoyed it, they did something right. And that's what should matter at the end of the day. So this video is basically for me saying, don't let the negative bullcrap agendas put you down like, oh, Xbox is dumb, they're done. No, it's not, because they did what was right for the team, for the IP, and for the future of gaming, and in the future of the industry, because talent like that should not go away. And it would have been sad to actually see them completely go away instead of being salvaged and given an opportunity or a second chance, right? So my heart and my good will goes to Tango Gameworks. I wish them nothing but the best, and I hope that they have success so that we'll never have to close their doors, and we can continue to see great, fantastic, unique, and amazing experiences. And I really hope that they're able to connect with Xbox through crafting as well to make we were within 3, because a lot of people still, me included, would like to see that, because that game deserves it. That's a fantastic series and a fantastic IP. And my son, for example, he loves it. He loves it very much. That's why he was very upset when they said that they were going to close them down. So, again, all that stuff was BS. Keep playing games. Keep being positive. If you love gaming and you love the industry, you don't see this acquisition by Crafton as a threat or something bad just because we can't say it's exclusive to Xbox. No, you'll see it as a beacon of hope and a light at the end of the tunnel to say, hey, you know what? We can see more from them. A Hi-Fi Rush 2 will be possible because they already said it. And that should be something that real gamers should be embracing, should be excited, and should be happy to see and hear about. Because if it wasn't going to happen, then that would give us a reason to be dooming and glooming. All right, guys, those are my thoughts and what I wanted to say about the Hi-Fi Rush situation. Is great that they gave them an opportunity to live and survive instead of closing them down. Bottom line, can't repeat it anymore. You guys let me know what you think down in the description below about what I said. If you agree with me, if you don't, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Thumbs down if you didn't like the video. As always, you can find me any social media platform. It's all down in the description below. And if you guys would love to hit me up, to have me showcase anything, I would love to do so. Just hit me up on DMs. I don't bite. It's perfectly fine and cool. We can work out the particulars and we'll go from there. Or if you ever want to help out the channel personally because you love what I do, love my channel, you can do it with my Patreon and PayPal information. Just remember, it's not mandatory. It's only if you want to, but it will go a long way in helping me if you do. That's the God honest truth. I don't make money doing this on YouTube. Never have. So I do this from the love and kindness of my heart because I love it. It's my passion. So guys, for all you that continue to support me every time, and that's the reason why I'm still here, I give you nothing but thank you and love. You know, you guys are great. Without you, I would not be sustained. I would not still be here. So for you, I'm eternally grateful. Thank you guys because you mean the world to me. Remember, if you subscribe and you're new to the channel, and you subscribe and you like what I did, I'm very kind and I'm very humbled that you did. I'm very, grateful, basically, because I know you didn't have to, but since you did, remember, I consider you now part of my family. Guys, this is Hebot signing off. I'll see you in the next one. Xbox for life, like a sickness that can't be cured. That's my saying. That's my slogan. Don't get triggered, people. It's all in gaming. It's all in good fun. Until the next one. Love you guys. Peace.